Hello YouTube, this is the Bucket coming at you today with my Beretta 1935. This one was made in 1944 and was accepted and delivered to the German military at the end of World War II. So this pistol and its brother, the 1934, are very, very similar pistols. So we're going to treat them kind of as the same. So 1934, the Beretta designed the 1934, which is a 380 ACP pistol. And then the next year, they created this one, the 1935. Now, this is a direct blowback pistol, meaning that the barrel doesn't tilt, and just the weight of the slide, the recoil spring, and the hammer spring keep this in battery until the projectile has enough time to leave the barrel and allows it to go into semi-automatic mode at that point. The Beretta 1935 shoots from an 8-round detachable box magazine, which allows you an 8+1 capacity. The overall length of this pistol is 6.1 inches. The barrel length is 3.5 inches. The width comes in 1.18 inches. The height is 5.1 inches, and it comes in at 23.5 ounces. Obviously, this is going to be an all-steel pistol that has black plastic grips with these really cool PB or Pietra Beretta logos on them. Again, these pistols were very, very popular, and they were made from 1935 to 1967, and the overall production for the 1935s here were 525,000 units. Obviously, these were used extensively during World War II and were used by the Italians. The 1934s were primarily used by the Italians, and the Germans used a lot of the 1935s, as well as the Italian Navy and the Italian Air Force, among other police forces and other forces, but were really popular after the end of the war. And again, they were being produced until 1967, so there are a lot of these pistols made outside of World War II as well. So how this gun works mechanically is obviously you've got your 8-round detachable box magazine. You're going to see that it has a heel release. Again, it's a single action only pistol. It does have a frame safety with a 180-degree throw, where if the button is showing, that means it is ready for fire. And if it is in the safe position, you'll be able to read the S for safe. The gun operates as a basic semi-automatic pistol, where when the gun fires, the slide moves back, and there is a last hold open, but it's just the magazine follower. So then the gun locks open on the magazine follower. When you pull back the slide, when you pull out the magazine, the slide will slam home, which does create one particular problem. When I purchased this gun, it came with this World War II magazine, which somebody had knocked the finger extension off of, which means when it is time, when you shoot the last round, it's going to lock back, but now you've got nothing to grab a hold of, and since it is holding on that follower, it makes it kind of hard to operate. So you've got a couple of options of what you can do first. So one of the things you can do is you can take your hand, pull back using these two fingers, then pull back on that. Yeah, it's a ginormous pain. And then you're going to use this index finger to push out as you go. And when you go, you want to make sure you got it out a little bit, and you can let that slide come home, and then you can pull out the magazine. There's another option, which we'll talk a little bit about disassembly. So now the gun has locked back. You can go ahead and you can you could put the gun on safe, pull the slide a little bit further, and the safety actually doubles as a disassembly lever, and do the same type of thing, where now you pull back on the magazine heel release, push down with your finger. You don't have to worry as much because it's being held in by the disassembly lever. At this time, I'm going to show you how to do field stripping. This is kind of a little bit different. You see a lot of interrupting lugs from Browning designs, but this one's a little bit different. Now you've got it back in the disassembly latch, and you just pull the barrel or push the barrel forward, shake it out, and the barrel comes right on out, which is kind of cool. Then to disassemble the pistol further for more field stripping, you can go ahead and put the safety back to fire. You have your slide. You can take out your recoil rod and spring, and then the safety will just come free at this time. Now you can see the quality of Beretta's manufacturing. This is a late war pistol, but you can see that it's still manufactured extremely well. It's a very simple design, as most blowback pistols are, but even this late war example, you can see that Beretta did a really good job of taking care of their pistols. You'll see on the Beretta 1935s that the barrels are also serialized. You can see that this one has a 4-digit serial. If you have a Beretta 1934, it's not uncommon to see only a 3-digit serial number, and that's okay. So to reassemble after you've cleaned your gun, you want to go ahead and put your safety back into the gun. Just goes right in. I like to put it on the safe section. Then you just go ahead and put your recoil rod and recoil spring. Then you'll want to go ahead and line up the slide. You'll see actually down in here that there is a little place for the recoil spring to go into. So once you get your slide going, you'll just want to make sure that those line up, and then you just put your slide all the way back and it'll lock back into place. Then you can re-put in your barrel, just slide that into the front. It'll take a little bit of a jiggle to get it to find that right place. Of course, doing this on the camera is always fun. There you go. And then you could put the safety back down and the gun is ready to go. You can go ahead and put it back on safe to see that it is doing a good function check, and then you could put it back on fire, point in a safe direction, double checking that there's nothing in there, no magazine, and you're ready to go. Now you've got it put back together. So the Beretta 1935 is a very reliable pistol. They make really good shooters, and you can tell that because after the World Wars, these guns kept being produced and being used for police forces, for a lot of different forces, and sold commercially. These guns fit really good in the hand. They're a great pocket gun. You know, you can get them in the 1934s, which are the 380s, or you can get them like the 1935s, which are in the 32 ACP. Like I said, they're just natural pointers. You can see the stylings of the way Beretta would go moving forward, and the triggers are not amazing, but they're not bad. They have a nice clean break. The hammer's easy to pull back. I will tell you, when you're engaging the slide, you know, with a lot of these blowback pistols, that hammer spring is what's keeping them locked up. So, you know, maybe if you don't have a lot of manual dexterity, that might create a problem, but you're going to have that with a lot of the pistols. I brought out my JP Sauer & Sons 38H. They both feel great in the hands. You know, a lot of these military pistols are going to have really rudimentary sights. This one's nice. It's dovetailed in. There's really nothing to adjust for windage other than a file, which obviously if you've got a World War II collectible, you're probably not going to want to be doing that. I will tell you that these grips feel pretty good in the hand. They're pretty slick. I do like the fact that on these cool old German ones, or the Italians knew that the plastic at the time wasn't particularly good, so they put this cool metal reinforcing right over here, which is why you see a lot of these collector guns still having their original grips. I found it was easy to point, easy to aim, easy to shoot. I didn't have a lot of reliability issues. It seemed to cycle all of the modern ammunition without any problems. Obviously, I would have liked better sights, but again, it's a cool old military pistol. So I had no problem shooting at 15 yards to 20 yards and still hitting targets. You know, I was hitting 6-inch steels. I was hitting, 10, 12, 14-inch steels with pretty good reliability. So these were really good, well-manufactured pistols that lasted a very long time. Now let's talk about the markings that you're going to find on a gun. So this one is a Beretta 1935, so this is a war production one. You'll see that it will say P. Beretta, caliber 7.65 Beretta. It's going to say Gardone VI, and then it's going to have a year. Now mine is made in 1944. When the guns were originally made, it was under fascist control. So on a lot of the Beretta 1935s, you're going to see that it'll have the year, and then it'll have a series of Roman numerals. So for instance, if you had a Beretta 1940, the fascist year of when fascists took control of Italy was 1922. So on a Beretta 1935 made in 1940, it will also have an XVIII, or a Roman numeral 18. 18 plus 1922 equals 1940. So you have the year of manufacture and the year of the fascist manufacture all right there on the slide. That's the same type of thing that you're going to end up with a Beretta 1934, except for obviously it won't say 7.65, it'll say 9mm Corto. On the other side, you're going to see a serial number on the slide and a serial number on the frame. Mine's a late war, so again, the serial numbers, you can see like on mine, my 6 is really light struck. It kind of, you can see it kind of tapers over time. These are all completely normal for late war production guns. As far as other markings, like you'll see some inspector's marks. You'll often see a mark right here, and that's to tell you where they're going to put the lanyard loop on. Those are all common things that you're going to see on World War II produced firearms. Mine is produced after the fall of the fascists. So in September of 1943, the fascists fell, the Germans came in, put Mussolini back in charge, and they created the Italian Social Republic, also referred to as the RSI. Now, this is a Nazi puppet state. Mussolini really wasn't in charge. This was all under German control, and this was all for military reasons. After that, Beretta stopped putting the fascist year, so mine is a 1944, and you'll see that you do not have the Roman numerals on there, and that's completely fine. And that's where you'll see a lot of times the 4UT mark that is put on the tang of these pistols. Almost all the times it's going to be on the safety side of the pistol that you see a 4UT. Occasionally it will come on this other side, and that is okay. Now, I really focus on the German pistols, so I'm just going to focus on the markings of my particular pistols or ones that you might have with a German gun. So the 4UT stands for the 4th Technical Control Unit. It was under Italian control, but you'll find that most of these, in Still's book, he says that if you have a 4UT on your gun, that means it was a gun produced for the German military. You'll see a lot of, like, for instance, my gun was in the 534,000 to 599,000. A letter from Beretta came out and said that those were delivered to the German Army headquarters. Usually, most all the collectors assume that if it's got a 4UT, it was a gun used by the German military. If you get on the gun board forums, there are some people out there that will argue that since the 4UT, or the 4th Technical Control Unit, was an Italian proof house, and that Beretta was under, was making guns for themselves, that not the 4UT does not mean that it was accepted by the German military. And I have a tendency to believe what the collectors believe, which is if you got a 4UT gun, you've got a German pistol. So I'm going to believe that mine is a German pistol. Now I'm going to tell you the story about how I got this particular gun. So I was at the gun show. I was with Tanfolio. I was looking around at a lot of different stuff. I'm always going to the gun shows looking for what's the cool next gun I'm going to bring to the channel. You have to keep your eyes open, and that's why it's so great to always go with a buddy. Tanfolio is a great buddy that comes with me. He knows the kind of things that I'm looking for. I know the kind of things that he's looking for. And I walked by a table, and it didn't have a ton of stuff on it, and here was this old pistol. And I saw the person there was a lovely lady, and I said, "Tell me about this pistol." And she goes, "Well, I really don't know a lot about it. This is my husband's table." And I was like, "Well, I'd like to ask him some questions. Is he going to be back?" And she said, "Yeah, come on back. He's just going around looking at the other tables." So I was not that excited about this, to be honest. I just kind of kept going around, and we did another loop, and I went back and I saw her again, and I said, "Hey, is your husband back?" And she goes, "Well, no, he's not back yet." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to be leaving here pretty quick, and I'm interested in buying this, but I have a couple of questions." So she called him up. He came down, and I said, "Well, tell me a little bit about this." And he said, "Well, I had a person come in. They were clearing out Grandpa's closet and found some World War II collectibles, and they brought it into my store, and I picked them up." And I was like, "Oh, so this is a World War II gun?" And he goes, "Yeah, it is. Came with a phone book." And I was like, "Okay." And I didn't know enough about these guns to know. I knew enough to keep myself out of a lot of trouble. I said, "Well, how much is it?" And he was saying, "I've got it for $300. And I said, "Well, I'll walk out the door with it for $250 today." And he said, "Done." And so I gave him the cash, and I walked out, put this in my pocket, and really thought I was just getting a post-war Beretta 1935, and I thought that would be kind of cool to bring to the channel. And then I got home, and I started looking at the markings, and I saw that 4UT, and I knew that that was an acceptance mark that meant it went to the German military. And I was super, super excited about it, and this is kind of one of my prized possessions. It's one of the reasons that I love going to the gun shows. You never know what kind of gems that you're going to pick up, and when I took it to the range and it shot reliably, I was super, super excited. And then I could afford to put a little bit of money into it to get a finger extension magazine, you'll find out that the ones without the markings are the ones that are usually wartime look. Somebody told me that this is a post-war magazine, because the way that these magazine, the finger extension kind of curls over itself. I had another expert tell me, no, that's a World War II magazine. So, I don't know. I'm just happy that it looks right with my gun, and all the experts said that this is a correct World War II magazine, just the finger extension was knocked off of it. So I really love this gun because, it's a cool World War II piece of history that now has a cool story with it. So as far as World War II collectibles go, the Beretta 1935 is in a group of pistols that I would say is the most affordable pistols to get on the market. The three big ones that you're going to see a lot are the FN 1922, the CZ 27, and the Beretta 1935. We can have some arguments if any other pistols belong on there, if you think one of those really doesn't. But from my anecdotal research, I find that those are probably the three most affordable pistols. This is the last one I've done a review on. I've done a review on the FN 1922 and the CZ 27, and I kind of always, stayed away from the Beretta 1935 for a couple of reasons. One being that there isn't a Waffenamp on it. So the Waffenamp tells you that that is a German acceptance mark in the German military. You know you have a German pistol when you have the Waffenamp. I think also with Beretta using these guns so long after the war, you saw a lot of these military and police trade-in pistols were on the market. So these Beretta 1935s were always seen as kind of cheap, inexpensive pistols. So the mixture between no Waffenamp and the fact that there were a lot of these guns out on the market kind of held the market value of these German collectibles a little bit down. I think the FN 1922 is a good pistol. I think the CZ 27 is a good pistol. But as far as a shooting pistol, I would say that this is the most easy to pick up and shoot. It's just a really good design, and it's really fun to shoot at the range. As far as other benefits of this particular gun, with it having been used so often for so long afterwards, finding replacement parts for this gun is really pretty easy. Probably the easiest of those three particular pistols. And I'll give you a good story. So when I got this gun, it only had this magazine. And I showed you it's not really easy to go ahead and change out this magazine, especially with the slide resting on the follower of the magazine. So it didn't take me but 30 minutes to find 20 different options to get a replacement magazine, and to do it fairly inexpensively. Now on this magazine, the early ones didn't have any markings on it, so I paid up for this particular magazine, but I had lots of options to get finger rest magazines made by Beretta for that $25 to $30 mark. You want to do the same thing for a Beretta, for an FN 1922 or CZ 27, it's not going to be as easy. And again, there's still replacement parts for this pistol readily available. So if you're new into the World War II collectible market, this is a really cool option that has a lot of upsides to it. It's very natural in the hands for a shooter of today's era. Replacement parts are easy to pick up on, and it's a pretty inexpensive as far as World War II collectibles to get into the new collecting market, making this just a really good option to be one of your first collector guns. I love my JP Sauer & Sons 38H, but I'm trying to get a replacement gun for this, and I'm finding that these guns are running around $1,000 to $1,800. At the time of making this video, I found lots of cool 4UT marked World War II German guns for that $800 to $1,000 mark, and you can get it from a lot of different conditions in that particular era. And if you want to go with the Beretta 1934 without the 4UT, you can find them a little bit cheaper, and you get a .380 caliber, which a lot of people would prefer over having a .32 ACP. So, I'm not telling you what to do, but this is definitely a cool option if you're thinking about getting yourself a cool World War II German collectible pistol. as far as things to look for when you're looking at these guns, you'll see that a lot of these guns, really the frame and the frame and the slide don't match up. As the earlier guns, you're going to see more bluing, you're going to see more of a high polish finish, and you'll see that sometimes the slide will be more of a plum finish and the frame does not seem to match. That's just due to how they finish the pistols. That's completely normal. I kind of like mine, this late war production. They were doing a real, maybe more of like a Parkerized finish, more of a matte finish. I really love bluing. I love the high polish blue of my JP Sauer & Sons 38H, but I do like the nice matte finish of this particular gun. Makes me feel very comfortable to hold it, to enjoy it, and it's really pretty good. So I wouldn't sweat it too much if you see a finish like mine, if you see that the serial numbers are a little bit off. That's kind of very common for these late war pistols, and you'll see a lot of them that will still have the original grips like mine does. So, you know, if you're thinking about getting into a cool old World War II collectible pistol, the Beretta 1935 is a really, really good option. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed maybe this more long form talking about this World War II pistol that I had here. I think I'm going to be doing some more of these with the channel. I do really appreciate all the likes, the comments, the shares. They're really, really appreciated. And as always, you stay classy, YouTube. Little middle baby bucket. Do you want to live in California?
No!
Why?
Because I'm not a communist.